people, they kid like, oh, you're golfing again? I'm just like, yeah. It's like, look, man, it's between work, my friends, and my family, it's just a platform that we use to spend time together.
Yeah. To live life to the fullest, both with the people we care about and to infuse purpose.
Time is so precious, right? And when do you ever get a chance to spend, call it 2 hours or 4 hours with a friend, a family member, where you can just relax, enjoy each other, have some competitive, fun together, and really just kind of talk through some stuff.
And it's one of the few games that has enough space in it that you can be involved in something with a lot of effort, but still have space. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Links for Life. We are in for a very fun special treat today with my good friend Will Saunders. And I always have to think when I'm introducing someone, whether I'm introducing them as an old friend or a new friend, and what qualifies. So Will and I have known each other, I guess, for about 7 or 8 years through Equity Concepts, where he works, and I have a lot of relationships there. And we've connected many times, since that. So whether that kind of qualifies as you're an old friend of mine or you're a new friend of mine, I don't know, but he's a good friend of mine. So I'm very excited to have Will on board, and his story, particularly of the place golf has played in his life and how he has leveraged golf or used golf for even greater purposes is something that I think all of us can benefit from. And it's really at the core of Links for Life. So Links for Life, the byline that I have for it is the intersection of golf, growth, and God. My idea behind this is that those are 3 things that I absolutely love and am passionate about: golf, growth, and my relationship with God. So why not do something that pulls all of that together? And in a sense, Will has done that same thing with his life. And so I want you to just hear his story, not just to hear his story, but also to hear and provoke ideas for you about new places, new ways that golf can be a platform for what matters for you. So I'm really excited, Will, to have you on board with Links for Life, and just so glad and excited to really hear, even in more detail than I've heard in the past, your story kind of how golf plays into your life. So welcome, Will.
Thank you, Tommy. Very excited to be here this morning. Of course, played a little bit of golf with you in the past, know you from Hope Church through work. And so it's just, again, I think what you've put together here today is just a really, really neat platform.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, I have to tell the story. It feels like it may not have been the first time that we met, but it was probably 7, 8, 9 years ago. I happened to be coming by the Equity Concepts office to meet with Michael Thaler, who was the founder of Equity Concepts. And so I come in and I'm greeted by both you and your brother, Dave. And I happen to just be wearing that day a Masters shirt. Well, I barely made it to the meeting with Michael because you and I and your brother, we got into all sorts of conversations about golf and the Masters and everything. And so I got a real early taste that you truly love this game. And it was fun because that's always been something with us.
Yeah, and my brother is he loves the Masters. Been a bunch of times. He's lucky. I've been once, but knowing that your family was lucky enough to have some tickets, so it was a great chance to talk about that, hear about that. It was really, really cool.
So much fun. One of these days I'll have to do an episode on experiencing the Masters.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, why don't you start us off with just telling us a little bit about yourself, background, whatever you want to tell. And then, you've got a unique story about kind of the intersection of golf in your life with so many other things that you love. And I think that's where I'd really love to take the conversation.
Great. So again, William Saunders, 53 years old, been married 23 years. I've got two great boys. One's a rising junior in high school, and just dropped my son off as a freshman at college. So that was really exciting. And work here locally in Richmond. Been with the same firm, like you said, Equity Concepts. Luckily enough, I get to work with your son every day, who's fabulous. And I'm on the board of the VSGA, which is another part of the whole story.
Right.
And it's golf's been a big part of my life as I moved to Richmond, and I'll kind of unpack that. Is that I didn't grow up as a golfer. I grew up in Michigan, and at my time of life, golf I think really kind of evolved. When Tiger Woods kind of came onto the scene, and what I mean is that for me in high school, you were a country club kid, and I describe that not as I'm just describing it,
right?
Or there were the chess kids, that played golf, right? Yeah. Where the sports that I played was football, hockey, basketball, the normal sports, and so I just never was exposed to it. Yeah. And so kind of fast forward, I go through.
Which is true for me too.
Okay.
I didn't really grow up with a game, and I didn't grow up belonging to a country club. So golf was something I did a few times in the summer, all the way growing up until I was an adult, and I played all the other sports. So it's been an adult thing for me, just like for you.
Yeah. And really the other thing is, and we probably should talk a little bit about it. Golf, if you're not exposed to it, it's, how do you get involved into it? It's like, it can be intimidating. There's a lot of rules, there's a lot of traditions. And so if you don't have someone kind of pulling you along to get exposure to that, most people, it's kind of hard to get into. Yeah. And so, and I even actually, I went to Ferris State University up in Michigan. Half of my fraternity brothers were PGMers. And it kills me to this day that I literally never played golf with any of them.
What's a PGMer?
So it's the Professional Golf Management Program.
Oh, okay.
So, the pro at CCV or whoever, they go to school to get their certification. Right. Okay. And I just, half of my fraternity brothers were golfers, and it just wasn't something I took advantage of. And I can remember them going out and playing golf and coming back to the house and stuff like that. And it just was something that was so foreign to me. And so kind of fast forward, I moved to Richmond, I get in financial services. And, and kind of in general, like Friday afternoon, the office is a little quiet, Friday afternoons. Yeah. And I'm there working, and, I'm kind of bopping around. I'm like, where is everyone? And like, most of the time, they're at the course, they're at the course. And I kept saying to myself, I'm like, I kind of need to figure this out. Yeah. And I ended up playing hockey until, my 30s. And I came to Richmond, and it just didn't connect. And it was like time to find something else to do. And so I had a coworker, Dale Wright, who was at Equity Concepts, who kind of put me under his wing. He's like, hey, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure this game out. I really want you to. I want you to play with me. Like, you're missing out on a lot of different opportunities. And so that's kind of how it all started.
Which is really unexpected. Because, I think of the level of passion you have for the game now, and I associate that with someone who just tried it and fell in love with it instead of kind of backed into it. And I do know a lot of people who, in a sense, back into the game and then fall in love. They do it because, well, I need to spend time with my family, and this is the only way I can, or I need to for business purposes, and this is the only way I can. And they don't really get into it other than to get somewhere else. To get into it the way you did, and then to fall in love with it, and for it to infuse almost everything in your life. That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, and I will tell you, like, there was a couple times where, I'm sure just like everyone, like, they get frustrated by the game. It does take a little bit of time. I tell people who don't play golf, like, if they're skiers, it's like, well, like skiing, you gotta fall down a couple times before you really get it. And so, you got to get through that to really kind of enjoy the game. And so, kind of fast forwarding, I'm playing golf, and I've got a young family, and of course, golf does take some time. And so I had a neighbor who literally, he would ping me all the time, like on Fridays, like, hey, I've got a tee time, can you make it? And his kids were a little bit older, and I would be like, hey man, like, you see what I got over here? Like, there's no way that I'm playing on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
When you've got a 3-year-old and and a 9-month-old, like, that just doesn't work. And so I played in a golf league for one summer, and I was like, man, this is kind of a cool idea. And the guy running it got transferred, who was my buddy. And, I just I really liked the concept. And so as I was thinking about my neighborhood and I was involved in Rotary, it was like, hey, like, someone should put a golf league together. So that way we can plan it. It can be on a Tuesday. It can be whatever day of the week, but we can tell our families, hey, we're going to go play 9 holes, have dinner, it's scheduled. And that way, like, the family knows we're getting our time. And that was kind of how it, like, the whole idea of really where the passion started.
Yeah. Okay. And this was not a group of people who like belonged to one place, right?
Yeah. So literally it was just getting a bunch of people together who were golfers, people from my Rotary Club, and then people from the neighborhood.
Right. Okay.
And so we, I would just literally book tee times. And at the time I was doing it all through Excel. And, when you have 40 people, on a spreadsheet, it's not that hard to manage. It's pretty easy to manage, but, kind of fast forwarding now where we're, Unclubbed, and we'll get into this, is the largest social golf league in the state of Virginia. We've got 1,200 people on our distribution list. We've got 160 people with gins. I never expected it to be what it is today. And it's just one of those things where, getting good people together, it's just amazing what happens.
I mean, that for people who aren't familiar with it, I wasn't until I talked to you. So I love the idea of Unclubbed, and I want to hear more about that. But that you've got 1,200 people on your mailing list, 160 that have gotten GIN numbers in the process. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is absolutely mind-boggling what this has become like a big business practically in terms of what you're doing. And you're doing it like at clubs all over Virginia, largest social network. Yeah. It's so incredible.
We do 26 events a year. We start in September. We start in April and we end in September. My little line is, I love when it starts and I love when it ends.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of work that goes into it. But, and I always say that, and I hear this a lot from our members, is like, this is the best part of my week.
Yes.
This is the best part. And like, I just got an email this morning from someone that said, hey, will you pair me with so-and-so? Like, I really had a good time with him last time.
Oh, how neat.
And that, like, the people of Unclubbed that we have. And I think one of the things that makes it different is that, golf, it can be snobbish at sometimes, you know, and sometimes you meet people and it'd be like, I don't like, look, if we were bowling right now, we wouldn't care. Yes. I just threw it in the gutter. Yeah. We're still going to play. We're still going to have fun. And so one of the things that I really, when I thought about putting these people together is like I said, look, we're not going to compete. Mm-hmm. We're going to make it totally social. You can have a handicap, but I don't care what your handicap is.
Yeah.
We're just going to take the best social parts of golf and put it together. Play golf, have fun, have a meal after. And I think that's been some of the secret sauce.
Yeah, it's really genius. The things that stand out to me, that aspect, to take some of the competitive vigor out of it, makes it that much more accessible. The fact that it's 9 holes is more digestible for a lot of people. It's so great. So I had a phenomenal trip this summer, the trip of a lifetime to Scotland. And we had 20 guys, and most of the guys didn't know each other, and I didn't know most of them. And we began the trip, 7 rounds of golf, with saying, okay, well, we got to do some kind of competition. So we'll have, for anybody who wants to get into it, a low gross and a low net for it. And it was fine. By about 3 or 4 days into it, we just bagged that. Everybody just played, just had fun. You just got together with the people. And there was something that was really nice about, there's no pressure with that. So I love kind of the vision about how to do it that is a little bit beyond just, it's just guys getting together. You've made it something that it's so much easier for guys to get together. I love it. Yeah.
Looking back, and as I've met a lot of different people through the game, the other thing is there's other people that grew up playing golf and were really competitive golfers.
Yeah.
And they haven't played in 20 years for, the kids or the work or whatever. And they're almost like embarrassed to like play because they were playing at such a high level.
Right.
And I just say, hey, look, that doesn't matter to us.
Yeah.
Like no one in this group is going to ask you what your handicap is.
Yeah.
Just as long as you're, a good person and want to have a good time. And I literally, we have pretty much, 48 golfers every week if it's just 9. But then if we have 18 holes, we'll have almost 72.
Yeah.
And I'll play in any group. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're all fabulous, just wonderful people. And it's just, I think, well, first of all, it's very organized. So literally we take out also besides the competitiveness, it's like we run it through Golf Genius, and I got all of that, that process and all of that logistics of getting involved with the VSGA. And so we send out an email, they just click yes or no, the tee sheet goes out and they show up, the cart signs have their names on it. I mean, we're running 26 different tournaments every week.
That is pretty massive.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is, that's so neat. I love kind of pulling people together that way. And it's very different in terms of how you're doing this. So it's a lot of work on your part, but also pretty cool and rewarding. I know that there are a lot of times that, I play a lot of golf. Good in golf is so relative.
Sure it is.
But I'll meet people and they'll say, well, I could never, play with you. I'm really not very good. And my response always is, I don't care. Yeah. I mean,
yes.
As long as you're having a fun time and not getting mad and throwing clubs, I could care less what you shoot. Let's just go out and have a fun time. It doesn't matter to me if it doesn't matter to you, and that's always the case. And so it sounds like that's how you've built this whole thing.
Yeah. And I think that's, so when I had a really good buddy who was involved in the VSGA, and I was telling him about what we were doing and how it was coming together and the numbers and what was happening and how this thing was really starting to take off. And, and of course, describing the VSGA, of course, they have a lot of tradition, a lot of great tournaments, a lot of competitive golf, and a lot of great people have competed in those tournaments from Virginia. But as you may recall, golf was not headed in the right direction before COVID. There were more people leaving golf than there were getting into golf.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I have this group getting together, growing more. They have no connection to each other. And he's like, look, man, you're really disrupting what's going on with golf. Because most people, like if you're a member of a club or, you've got this synergy or this thing to come to.
Right.
Well, we don't have a club. We don't have a clubhouse. This is all virtual.
Yeah.
And so they're like, you need to we've got a committee, that's called Growing the Game. and you really should, you should really come to one of these meetings. I'm like, yeah, sure. And even myself, I was like kind of somewhat really intimidated because like the VSGA, the traditions, like I'm not a competitive golfer, and still to this day I don't know like all of the rules. And because
but you're a good golfer, but I still get it. Yeah.
It's somewhat intimidating. But COVID obviously was a huge help for golf, right? Because you couldn't do anything. But like, the VSGA, which is they needed to somewhat evolve. Right. And for me to come in there as like, hey, look, I'm not worried about the competition. I'm not worried about the 4-ball. I'm not worried about, somewhat the rules. I'm just trying to grow the game. I'm trying to get people together, and they're like, we need someone like that. We need someone to hear that perspective. And so one of the things that happened is that, my buddy's like, hey, you need to organize as what at the time they called it an e-club.
Okay.
And basically an e-club was just, an internet club, right?
Yes.
And when you did that, you literally got access to the Golf Genius,
okay,
which literally at the time I was doing the spreadsheets, and literally I had like over 500 people, and what was happening was I never knew this before, but like if you take 500 emails and put it into Outlook, over 500, the email won't go.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I was kind of starting to have to delete people that I hadn't seen in a while because I couldn't send the email, and the logistics of it. I'm like, man, this stuff is really starting to get complicated. Like, and I've got my life going on, and I'm running a business, and so they came at the right time. It was just perfect synergy to help me get organized. And then a couple years later, Brian Rano got involved with me, helping me. He was a member of the league, had a background in IT, really good operations guys. Like, man, I can help you with this and that. And so it was just that was a perfect time to. It's like the right people I've met the right people at the right time to keep growing and keep going in the right direction.
Yeah, but I think at least as I hear it, something almost bigger has happened is that you had not coming out of a country club world, which is really kind of so much of golf has that feel. It's like everything that you've done is designed to take this game you love and strip it of all intimidation. The intimidation of not being a member of a club, the intimidation of a handicap, of not being good enough, of not knowing how to get involved, where to play. You've stripped it. And that one concept of saying the game is great, there's no reason for it to be intimidating, and I'm going to create this platform in a sense that's going to take all of the intimidation out of the game and just let us focus on having fun and being with each other. I just think that's such a great concept. Now, you've had to put a lot of work and a lot of things have come together around it. But if you didn't have that initial vision, I don't know, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. I want to have to borrow that tagline.
Yeah.
Taking the intimidation out of golf. And you really articulated something there. Because like if I think about it, you're exactly right. It's like people they're just showing up and enjoying the best parts of social golf.
Yes, which is the best part of golf.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun game, but we're not going to make money out of it. It's a fun game, but it's such a social game that has so many different things, and people miss out because it comes across on the front end as intimidating.
Yes. Yep.
And you've found that way to identify all of those intimidating things, say, we don't need that. We'll just take that out of that. We'll just take that out of it. And I just think that's genius in and of itself. But I think what's cool is, and this is what I think of both for what I'm doing for Links for Life and what I've seen other people do, is you've taken this thing that you love, you actually came to kind of fall in love with golf, and you say, let me find ways to bring other things that I love into this world, and then 1 + 1 = 3.
Absolutely.
You know, I
Yep.
really
Yep.
love
Yep.
and am passionate about bringing people together. I've always known you as just this incredible networker, and you just clearly just really enjoy people. And then you said, why not put those things together? And you've done that, I guess, in other ways with golf too.
You know, in my business and in the things that I do, I meet a lot of people, and I do meet a lot of golfers, and, you know, people are busy, right? We're all busy. There's a lot going on. And it's just one of those things that it's great for me to be able to say, hey, look, let me just add you to the distribution list. And that's the other thing about the league that's I probably should have explained. It's like, so there's no cost to join the league. Okay, now if you want your handicap, there's a charge for that.
Right.
There's no commitment. There's no buy-in. You don't need a partner. You just literally show up when you can.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting how I have people that play every week. They never miss it. And then I have people that, you know, I see them once or twice a year. And then like someone will vanish. And then 2 years later, they show back up and like, oh yeah, like I got a new job and blah, blah, blah. But like, I wanted to come and I knew I was going to come back. And so in regards to the whole connection piece, it's nice to be able to know that if I want to connect with someone and they're a golfer, I can say, hey, well, let's play in the league,
Yeah.
right? It's really like, you can't play this week, let's play next week, right? And so, you know, with work and then even with like the stuff that my kids do, you know, you meet the parents, like, hey, you want to play golf? We'll just join the league. It's not just about the golf. It's about, all right, I'm seeing John tonight, or I'm seeing Tommy, or I'm seeing Alex. It's more of like a social event than it is just golf.
Yeah, which is very cool. And so there are a couple things that I do like about it. I've known some things, let's say outside of the club world, that might use golf, but there's like an intentionality that creates a level of intimidation of this is a networking tool. Mm-hmm. And anytime you kind of use that word networking, it means that underlying we're trying to get business and do that type of thing. And you don't have that. Not that you don't use golf in other ways that way.
Yep.
And I was thinking, and this is like a real sidetrack, but I just started probably the third or fourth year of teaching a men's Bible study. And it's interesting, we use many of the same principles you just talked about. You don't sign up for it. You can come whenever you want. You can come once, not come again. We don't care whether you know anything about the Bible or not. We don't care which church you go to. If you want to come, come. If you want to stop coming, you stop coming. And the idea, which I'd never kind of put words to, was we wanted to take the entire intimidation out of doing a Bible study for anybody and everybody. And that's what you've done with this golf league, which I just think is fabulous and so needed. And it's even needed for people in every area of life. People who won't go to church because it's intimidating.
Yep.
People who won't try a new sport because it's intimidating. So this idea of eliminating intimidation is pretty cool.
Well, and you know, the other thing about the league, which we're very intentional about, is that, and even though we don't care about how good your game, we put scratch golfers with people that don't even know what a handicap is, because that doesn't matter. But I try to, like, as I'm thinking about the different people, like if you're retired, I try to put you with some of the retired guys. You know, if you're younger and you know, I mean, because there are some pretty decent golfers. It's like, let's put you with the better golfer, and so because you can maybe put a little game together. And then you got people who are like myself, who are a little bit more middle aged, that like, let me play with my buddies. And it is, and the thing that I love is, like, I'll go somewhere and I'll run into a group of unclubbers, like people from Unclubbed. I'll be like, no one could call me. Like, what's going on here? Like, because I know they met through Unclubbed.
Yeah.
And it's just fabulous. It's just really one of those
really
things
cool.
where, like, I mean, it just makes you, and, you know, and you know, people will, again, going back to, it's the best part of my week, people will tell me like, oh man, I've been trying to get out, or they've had some stuff going on, and they're like, man, this is like the thing that, you know, kind of gives me the break from whatever they've got going on.
Right.
And because, man, life's tough, life's hard, you know, and there's things that, you know, happen. And if we can, you know, I always say to Brian, it's like, hey, look, if someone, you know, wants to play with a certain person, or if they, you know, they tell us, hey, you know, again, this is the best, like we're doing something, we're doing something right. We need to keep, like, that's why we're doing this.
And you're doing something that's really good. I mean, you're playing a really meaningful place in people's lives, if nothing else, simply just by making life a little bit easier in some spot.
No question.
And that's so great. Well, let me shift gears for a little bit, because the bigger picture of kind of where I want to go is that you found this really beautiful place that syncs with who you are, of how golf can fit, how you can use golf to do something that is meaningful for you, where you are helping the world in a sense by it. But there are lots of different places that golf can play as a platform. So I imagine in the wealth management world that there are times that you use golf for that. There are other places, there are ways I've found that people can use golf to build friendships with people that maybe it's not as natural to do outside of golf. There's ways that people use golf to enhance their families. And the idea I think that I'd love to leave people with is this creativity to think of, how can I think about golf as more than a sport that I tried to get better at? How can I use golf as a way to enhance what is important to me? So maybe you can just talk for a minute about, outside of Unclubbed, how golf plays in other areas of your life.
Sure. No question, it is a big part of our business. We work with a lot of golfers. Yeah. Because, you know, I think anyone that uses golf for business, it gives you a chance to meet someone and kind of figure out, is this someone that I want to work with?
Right.
And I think that's both ways.
Yes.
Right? That's you're being interviewed and you're interviewing them. And I don't know of any other, like, kind of platform where you can, you know, see someone at their best.
Yes.
And at their worst.
Yeah.
Right? And how they handle things.
Yeah, and it has space.
Yes.
To make those judgments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I for me, I think if you're a person, again, and I would put you in this camp, like you and I, we naturally are drawn to people and like talking to people and want to know, how are you doing that? Yeah. Explain that to me. Some people aren't built that way. Right. Some people, they need to kind of think through kind of how they want to connect with someone.
Right.
And I think golf kind of just does that, which is really unique with it.
Because you don't have to go there.
You know, if you don't.
If you're playing around a golf with someone, if you choose to, you can just make it about the golf the entire time.
Yes. Yep.
But it also has that space to where, you know, you're walking down a fairway after a shot and you can say, so tell me about your family, or, you know, ask them about something in business, or go any direction. It's a possibility, but not a requirement. And I think that is great for however you want to use it.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. And yeah, so that's kind of the work side of it. I think, you know, of course, I know you play golf with your kids, and, you know, and that's been it's, you know, for me, it's been interesting because we did all the sports, and, you know, my son pivoted from lacrosse to golf his sophomore year in high school. And, you know, to see, I think the other thing that about golf that is very unique, it's not a team sport. Right. You know, this is more of the it's like, it's all on you. Right. And it's been great to see my son grow and help him grow, and having a platform that we can talk about the wins and the failures. Because, you know, in life, you're going to probably fail. The thing about golf is like, it's just a game.
Yeah.
and you can learn a lot of lessons from that. And
Yes.
that's just,
It's a game, but somehow it has this unique ability to shine a spotlight on aspects of character.
yes.
And as a dad with a son or with people that you're spending time with, that ability to shine a spotlight. And sometimes I find people almost can't help from their character coming out. And that's true for me too. I mean, I get really frustrated. I'll get more frustrated on a golf course than I will ever let show in any other area of life. And what that shows me is that frustration is there. I might hide it in other places, but that frustration is there. So it gives me the opportunity to say, okay, well, deal with it. Admit it. Let's figure this thing out. And so for a dad and son to be able to do that, there are so many unique things.
Yeah. And I've even I've seen my son in tournaments where he's, fallen down, and it's not literally, but he's, he's in a hole.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? It's like, are you going to lean towards it? Or are you going to, are you going to fold like a lawn chair?
Yeah.
And to see him come out of those. And for me as a father, it when I'm struggling,
right.
And I will tell you, I will think about my son on the golf course, and I'll think about my son during the day when I'm struggling with something at work. Like, hey, you're the one, giving all the advice. You're the one telling him to pick it up, put your chin up. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's really, it's almost like looking in a mirror.
Yeah. And that is, at the crux, that's exactly why I'm doing this podcast, because it shines such a light on, it is such a microcosm of everything we're dealing with in every other area of life, of the struggles of relationships, of how do you figure out how to do relationship, when you're walking down a fairway. It's a microcosm of character.
Absolutely.
It's a microcosm of being a dad, in every other area. And that I think is so great. And I think the way you have chosen to say, okay, I love golf, and now I'm actually going to just be free enough to take this love of golf and let it bleed, in a sense, into everything else that I do. That's, as we kind of begin to wrap things up, that's what I would really love for people to take away from this episode. You chose, and there was a lot of work involved, and there was a lot of intentionality involved to say, I love the game. Something's a little off because this game is intimidating. I'd love to help take that out. And then you worked and have been working to help, 1,200 people?
Yeah.
1,200 people take some of the intimidation out of the game of golf, which then bleeds into other areas. So for me, it's, if you love the game of golf, then do more than just love the game of golf. Figure out how you can, use this incredible game that is a spotlight in so many ways to enhance other areas of game, whether it's your own character or your faith or your relationships that matter the most to you, or even your business. How can you use it in that way?
Yeah. And when I first got here, I think we talked a little bit about how this journey has happened. And people will ask me, well, they come out to the league, and I try to play with some of the new people just to kind of get to know them, get to welcome them.
Yeah.
See, you kind of find out what their story is, how they found out about us and stuff. And they kind of always ask me how did this start? What, how long have you been doing this? And they're like, what, have you been doing this for 2 years? I'm like, oh, no, it's been a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
And, I never thought it would be what this is. It's like a MBA project that went on for 12 years. But I will tell you, kind of going back to the whole faith piece, I honestly believe I'm not that good. I met the right people at the right time and they came along. And I think that's a part of, just believing like I'm just going to continue like to get good people together. And yeah, I just can't, it's remarkable what's happened. So
without kind of just trying to put a spiritual face on it.
Yeah.
God has used this for people, whether it's simply to take some of the stress out of life, without it necessarily directly being, okay, we're going to do a Bible study at this, or we're going to talk about faith. God has used this, and God has, maybe for lack of a better way to say, God's blessed.
Yes. That's
small,
even better.
Your
even
small
better
intention
yes.
in the right direction. God said, yeah, this is good. So I think it's great. I think it's an amazing story. How do people that might have an interest, and these might be people who already have clubs to play at, how do they get connected with Unclubbed?
Very easy. We have a website. All you have to do is Google Unclubbed. It comes right up. We have a button that you just click on join.
Okay.
And literally you get, added to the distribution list. And we send out the emails, every week, or actually Brian Rano, my partner in it, he sends out the messages, and literally you get the email. It has all the details of what we're doing, if we're having dinner, what the costs are, where we're playing. And all you have to do is click yes.
Wow. That's great. I am an introvert actually by nature. And one of the most painful things for me to do is to put a game of golf together. I just, it just feels, uncomfortable to me to ask people, do you want to play and stuff like that. And that's probably the most intimidating part of golf to me, is just, trying to get games together. And this just takes all of that away.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and you just meet a bunch of good people.
That's exactly it. And have, break bread and, just have a little bit of a break for, 2.5 hours on a Tuesday afternoon. And the other great thing that's also come out of it, talking about the business of golf just for a second, is that one of the other things that I thought about as I was not growing up in the country club, and I'm just describing that is that like I realized if I was intimidated, that I'm sure there's other people that are intimidated. So, us rotating to all of these different private clubs in the area, it takes away I'm just like these people.
Yeah.
And when you go to them a couple different times, what we found is like people would be like, hey, look, I don't want to wait a month to play
right
at the Federal Club or at Dominion or or wherever we were going. Like I like this. I want to join it. And that was one of the other great things that came out of it, is like it became a way for people to almost preview a club. Yeah. The club was earning revenue, and it was like a big win-win.
Yeah.
And so that was a really another great thing.
There's so many good things. And that's again, it's just part of what this podcast is all about. There's so many good things about the game. And if we can get out of our own way of saying it really matters what our score is or our handicap. I love trying to get better as much as anybody, but there's so many more important things about it than that. So my hope is that you've created a very tangible way for people to take the intimidation out of the game. And maybe people live in other areas and there are other versions of Unclubbed in your area. And maybe there's just a way that you can say, you know what, man, I'd love to get these people together. Golf's a great way to do it. And let's do that. So find a way. It's a tremendous platform for whatever you do. I love helping people grow, and I've done golf retreats where we just go and we have time to talk about ways that we're growing as human beings, and then we play around the golf, and it's just great. So hopefully we sparked some ideas in people's minds, and I think it's incredible what you're doing, and It sounds good. I'm going to have to join in on one of these.
Tommy, you're the best. Thank you. Really appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you, Will. Thank you, everybody, for listening for this. Please pass this along, pass Unclubbed along as an idea, and then figure out your own version of Unclubbed that you might be able to do in your life, whether it's with your family, your friends, or in your business, or perhaps some idea that you've been mulling on for a good while. So thanks for listening for Links for Life, and we'll be back next week.